Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 15, Killing of Dhanuka, the Ass Demon, text number 44. Tayor Yasoda Rohinya Putrayo Putra Vatsale Yata Kamam Yata Kalam Vyadatam Paramashisha Tayo Yashoda Rohinyao Putrayo Putra Vatsale Yatha Kaman Yatha Kalam Vyadatam Paramashisha Tayo Yashodha Rohinyao Putrayo Putra Vatsale Yatha Kamam Yatha Kalam Vyadatam Paramashisha Yatam Paramashisha Yaya Soda Rohino Ladies. Tayo to the two Yashoda Rohinyao Yashoda and Rohini, the mothers of Krishna and Balaram. Putrayo to their sons Putra Vatsale, who were very affectionate to their sons. Yatha Kamam, in accordance with their desires. Yatha Kalam, in accordance with time and circumstances. Vyadatam, presented. Padama Ashisha, first class enjoyable offerings. Translation: Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini, acting most affectionately toward their two sons, offered all the best things to them in response to their every desire and at the various appropriate times. Purport by the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The word Paramashisha indicates the attractive blessings of a loving mother, which include wonderful food, beautiful clothes, jewelry, toys, and constant affection. The words Yatha Kaman, Yatha Kalam indicate that although Yashoda and Rohini satisfied all the desires of their sons, Krishna and Balaram, they also properly regulated the boys' activities. In other words, they prepared wonderful food for their children, but they saw to it that the boys ate at the proper time. Similarly, their children would play at the proper time and sleep at the proper time. The word Yatha Kamam does not indicate that the mothers indiscriminately allowed the boys to do whatever they liked, but in the proper civilized way they showered their blessings upon their children. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments that the mothers loved their sons so much that as they embraced them, they would carefully check all their limbs to see if they were healthy and strong. Translation again, I'll say you please repeat. Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini, acting most affectionately toward their two sons, offered all the best things to them in response to their every desire and at the various appropriate times. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gnanjana Shalaka Chakshuluminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapanandikam. We were born in the darkness of ignorance, but our spiritual master has kindly forced open our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore we offer a most humble and respectful obeisance unto His lotus feet. Maum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Itanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Prachardane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pasachadistadne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm very humbled to be here, hoping to share something of Krishna consciousness with all of you. You all are so well trained. It's embarrassing to be sitting here in front of you. But Krishna consciousness is so available to everyone that even a fool like myself has been invited to speak something. So this class yesterday ended on an inquisitive note. So I thought I would fill in from there a little bit. After class there was a discussion and there was also some research. The question was, how is it that Lord Balaram kills some demons and Krishna kills some? Was there any deciding factor? Was it just happened to happen that way, or was there something more? Well, after Lord Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad was, of course, very happy in one sense, but he was also a little disturbed because it happened to be his father. So Lord Nrsimhadev, he promised to Prahlad that, okay, well, we got rid of Hiranyakashipu, the real big demon, but I'm going to give you a benediction that none of your descendants will ever be killed by me. So Prahlad's son, one of his sons, Virochana. He had a son, Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj had two, well, maybe many more, but at least two that we were able to find out here. And Banasura, famous Banasura. Banasura was a demon, in the read Krishna book, he was a demon. He had 1,000 arms, and he was just wanting to play 500 mridangas or smash mountains, something. He had all these arms, he wanted to do something. And anyway, he was itching for a fight, and he was guided by Lord Shiva. Actually, the only one worth fighting is Krishna. So him and Krishna got into this big fight. And in the course of the fight, Krishna was wiping him out pretty seriously. He was cutting off arms very rapidly. He had 1,000 arms. And he got down to cut off 996 arms. And he left 4 arms. He didn't kill him. And that was one of the reasons he didn't kill him was, well, the reason is because he had promised Prahlad Maharaj. So there was another son of Bali Maharaj, Sahashisha or something to that effect, some name like that. Anyway, he was also a demon, and his great propensity was to enjoy with women. So he organized this really big party, and he invited 10,000 ladies that he would enjoy with. And he figured, let me go to the mountains where I won't bother anybody. So he went to the mountains, and there he had this incredible party, and he was enjoying 10,000 girls. Unfortunately, his neighbor in the mountains was this very famous sage, Durvasa Muni, who has a history of getting angry when he feels offended. As you know from the Srimad Bhagavatam, he was so offended by Ambarish Maharaj, who's simply taken some Charnamrita at an inappropriate time, that he pulled out some of his hair and created this huge demon to kill Ambarish. And of course, Krishna protected, the story, Krishna protected him. But Durvasa Muni has a tendency to get very angry. So his neighbor was Durvasa Muni. When Durvasa Muni heard all this commotion, he became very agitated, and he cursed this Sahashirsha, whatever his name is, that you are acting just like an ass. Become an ass. He was cursed. Become an ass. In your next life, or whenever, 400,000 years from now, when you're playing around like an ass. And then we heard this, oh my God, I've been cursed. So he said, but there's one good thing about this curse is that in 400,000 years from now, you will be killed by Lord Balaram in Mathura. So those are 2 reasons why so he became Dhenukasura, actually. That's who he became Dhenukasura in his next life. So therefore, he could not be killed by Krishna. He had to be killed by Balaram because he was cursed by Durvasa Muni to be killed by Balaram. And he was a descendant of Bali Maharaj. There was another reason there, and I'm hoping, do you remember the third reason? The Radhanath Swami was explaining after class. He was explaining that some guy, if I'm right, Dhenukasura represents, he's an ass. He represents complete ignorance. That's the classic example. If you want to insult somebody for being ignorant, you'd call them an ass. And Prabhupada, of course, gave the famous example that the ass is working so hard for some grass that's just out in front of him. He's got the carrot. He's just going for a little sense gratification. He's working so hard. He carries huge burdens on his back. That's the typical example of an ass. An uneducated person thinking I have to work so hard to maintain this material body. When actually the goal of life is nothing to do with this material body. The goal of life is to love Krishna, to go back to the spiritual world. So, anyway, because he represents ignorance, Lord Balaram is the original guru, the Adi Guru, the original spiritual master. So therefore, Lord Balaram chose to the spiritual master, we say Om Jnanatimirandasya before the class. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. The spiritual master forced open my eyes. So, spiritual master, Lord Balaram, took that opportunity to deliver Dhenukasura. So, this whole chapter, actually, if you read this chapter fully, we're taking it piece by piece, but this whole chapter is actually an incredibly sweet chapter. It's in Krishna book, and Prabhupada, the way that it flows through Krishna book. But it's an incredibly sweet chapter because actually the whole picture of Vrindavan is there. The whole picture of where we want to be somewhere in that picture of the spiritual sky of Vrindavan. Everything's there. The pastime starts out with Krishna, all the living entities of Vrindavan are having a relationship with Krishna. The bees are humming, and Krishna's appreciating their sound. In fact, they're actually chanting chanting his glories. And of course, he was talking to Balaram how actually they're chanting your glories. Just hear the bees chanting your glories. The trees, they're walking. The Krishna and Balaram are walking through the forest. The trees are bowing down. They're laden with fruits and flowers. And Krishna's explained about, just see, they're offering their fruits and flowers to you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So many birds are singing. So many flowers are blooming. The wind is the breeze. Everything is being described how it is giving pleasure to Krishna, right? The whole atmosphere of Vrindavan, and gradually, the cows are introduced to the scene, and the cowherd boys, and actually we go through these last few verses. The last few verses are describing these intimate relationships with Krishna. The whole rasas, all the rasas are being described in this chapter in a summary form. When Prabhupada was chanting, one time in Gorakhpur, he was chanting this song before class, Srimad Bhagavatam class, this Jai Radha Madhava. He was singing, with great devotion, and he went into a trance. And during the trance, it's hard to say what was going on, but when he got out of the trance, all the devotees were stopped, and he said, just chant Hare Krishna. Later on, Prabhupada explained that this song, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, everything is there. Everything is there. All of Vrindavan there. Krishna is there with the gopis, Srimati Radharani, the cows, Govardhan Hill, the Jamuna, the bushes of Vrindavan. It's all there. So similarly, in this chapter, this whole atmosphere of Vrindavan is being described very, very sweetly. How all living beings are having a relationship with Krishna. The birds, the trees, the demigods. These last three or four verses, we hear how when Krishna had defeated this demon, Krishna was the hero of all the cowherd boys. When he defeated this demon, they were all chanting his glories, walking behind him, and they were relishing their relationship with Krishna. They didn't really think that Krishna was that great. They thought Krishna was cool, as we say in America. They thought Krishna was cool. They didn't really think he was great. Because why? In their relationship with Krishna, they were defeating Krishna. Wrestling with him and defeating him. And sometimes, defeating him in arguments. So many things in their play as cowherd boys. And because Yogamaya, is instrumental for covering the cowherd boys and the gopis. The next one that's described after yesterday's verse was describing the gopis, how their eyes were, with their bee-like eyes, they were searching out the honey of Krishna's face. So they didn't ever think of Krishna as a supreme Lord. They only thought of Krishna as the most beautiful, attractive boy, their lover. That's how they saw Krishna. They were covered by this Yoga Maya. To have this intimate, loving relationship. And this is the, Vrindavan life, or the Braj Bhakti that, is being described verse after verse in these in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's meant to attract the living beings who are suffering in this world. We're having all these relations. We're having our lovers. We're having our friends. We're having our family. But it's all what they call perverted reflection. There's no real enjoyment there. There's no real satisfaction. It ultimately ends up in frustration and pain. That's the material relationships. No matter how much we love somebody, when they die, we are crushed. We are saddened. It's a fact of nature. So therefore, Krishna exhibits these pastimes to show this eternal relationship. These rasas are being described here. And so today's class is talking about having Krishna as your child, Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini. Now, the verse yesterday in the purport, it was explaining that the description of the gopis, the way they were relating to Krishna, the way they were glancing at him, the way Krishna was glancing back, it was just the way boys and girls in this world, or lovers, or loving people, romantic affairs go on in this world. Of course, the difference is that Krishna is in the center. When Krishna is in the center, the whole thing becomes transcendental, becomes sweet, it becomes eternal. It's one of the 5 rasas. So similarly here, we're hearing how the mothers of Krishna and Balaram, what they were doing. They were just being mothers. Everything that's being described here is not so extraordinary. They were very affectionate toward their children. They were offering the best things. And the purport says giving beautiful clothes, toys, constant affection, jewelry. This is nothing extraordinary. And of course, the mother's awareness of her children is so heightened. From the time of conception, the child is in the womb, right, part of the mother's body. As soon as the child comes out, the need of the child for the mother to feed the child, to protect the child, it's so intense. The bond is very, 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 very tight, as you say, And therefore, Prabhupada said that if there's any kind of unconditional love in this world, it's the closest thing we can get to the love that we're trying to achieve between the living being and Krishna is the love of the mother toward a child. Because it's unconditional. It's not a job it's not a job anybody will sign up for, generally. It's not, you don't get paid, you don't have any hours, it's a 24/7 job, you're on emergency call, you have to tolerate a noisy environment, a noisy work environment, child crying. It's a thankless task. The child, after you feed your child, the child's not thanking you. The child's probably just burping or something, or getting sick, from air in the stomach. So for a mother, it's a thankless task, but it's close to being unconditional love as you can get in this material world. But even it's in today's society, due to the influence of Kali Yuga, even just the ordinary dealings, the normal dealings between mother and child, people are forgetting, or it's becoming lost, and therefore mothers put their child from the worst thing, aborting their child, or giving their child away at birth, or throwing the child in the garbage at birth, or when a mother feels that her career is more important than the child, puts the child with somebody else. So all these things are, deteriorating its natural bond. And it has an effect. The effect of proper motherhood on a child is the child grows properly. There's been studies for the negative effects. If a child's neglected, they've taken brain scans of a child, some child that's neglected, some child that's been nurtured, show how the brain shrinks. Or there was a study in Romania, how they had these children, these orphans in a nursery, and even though the nurseries were very nicely clean and regulated. Because the children didn't get any personal attention from their mother, they became autistic and they became schizophrenic, and their heads were misshapen. So many things happened. So, of course, that's on the negative side. On the positive side, learning how to love. That's where it starts. We learn how to love from our mother. If our mother loves us, then we love back and we love others from that. So these things that Rohini, Yashoda, this is ordinary motherhood, but it was transcendental because it's to Krishna. I mean, we hear about Prabhupada's upbringing, how Prabhupada was so loved by his mother. His mother was constantly thinking of how to protect little Abai. She would do all these little rituals. She put a little piece of saliva on his forehead every time he went out. One time she milked some blood from her breast and she offered it to the demigods and prayed for the protection of her son. One time she took a vow to eat with her left hand until her son noticed, thinking that, okay, as long as he doesn't ask about it, that means he'll keep living, So she had all these things. She put an iron bangle around his ankle and with mantras. So Prabhupada was explaining that just one time when he was telling these stories of his childhood, he was explaining that just like Mother Yashoda, she would chant various mantras for the protection of her son. Krishna, what we pray, what Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Sarva Dharman Prichaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja Ham Tomta Rapa Bhevya Moksham Isha Map Sucha. Krishna says, I'll give protection to anyone who surrenders to me. He's giving protection to everyone. But Mother Yashoda, her motherly affection is that she's going to give protection to her child. And Prabhupada was explaining how, just like his mother was doing this to him, Mother Yashoda was doing that for Krishna. But we've chanting these mantras, and then when Krishna would come back from the pasturing ground, and he killed some demon, Mother Yashoda, what were her thoughts? My mantras worked! Just see the potency of my mantras. They worked. He was protected and he killed the demon. She's taking credit for herself. For her, her chanting of the mantras. So, this was her mood. This is the motherly affection, Vatsalya Ras. So, we hear in the same chapter when Krishna killed Putana, after he was playing on the gigantic demon's breast, immediately Mother Yashoda brought, a cow's tail, was circumambulating baby Krishna with the cow tail, bringing dust from the hooves of the calves. She bathed Krishna with cow urine, all the while chanting different mantras for each part of his limb, chanting different names of Lord Vishnu. She was taking the names of Lord Vishnu and the cow products in order to pray for the protection of her child. So this is the motherly mood. Protection and affection. Protection, affection, and education. Actually, the mother, in one sense, is the first guru of the child, because the mother teaches so much. When the father's not there, mother's teaching so much, what needs to be done, what needs not to be done, and so what a role she has. So, Mother Rohini, Mother Yashoda, had this, special relationship with Krishna. It's not ordinary, becoming the mother of Krishna. But by following the process of bhakti-yoga, these relationships, we read Nectar of Devotion, we see these relationships, these primary relationships with Krishna. This is the goal, to enter into this loving relationship with Krishna, to reawaken our original loving relationship with Krishna. So the acharyas have given a very, scientific process for doing that. We can't jump over. We can't forget to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, the basic principles of Krishna consciousness. Because entering into these relationships with Krishna comes only after complete purification of the heart, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. When the heart is completely purified, then our relationship with Krishna is revealed. And not only through following the process of bhakti-yoga, but this relationship with Krishna, these relationships with Krishna, these intimate relationships with Krishna as found in the residence of Vrindavan, these are a result of, in this age, through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It cannot be given directly. We have to please Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya's mission is to glorify and spread the holy name of the Lord. So, to the degree that we are dedicating ourselves to the mission of Lord Chaitanya, that's to the degree Lord Chaitanya is going to reciprocate with our endeavor and let us enter into these loving relationships with Krishna, these high loving relationships with Krishna. So, anyone else would like to add, subtract, or comment on this verse and purport? Any questions, Malati?
I'm sorry that I don't remember the verse, but nice description that you just gave of Rohini and Mother Yasoda. There was a nice instruction from Srila Prabhupada in one purport of Bhagavatam that he says, after it was a very careful description of her working so hard, how the flowers were loosened, the garments were loosened and slackened, etc. So he said, we should read this description carefully, but we shouldn't try to imitate Mother Yasoda. We should follow in her footsteps, and this way we can get this Vatsalya Ras.
Yeah, Mother Yashoda's love for Krishna was so intense that it's described so many places how just when she was thinking of Krishna, or when she was seeing Krishna, or when she wasn't seeing Krishna, so many examples of this, that milk would flow from her breasts profusely, so much so that it would be wetting the lower part of her sari. So, this kind of love is extraordinary, but this is what we aspire to. This is why we hear these beautiful pastimes of Krishna with his devotees, because this gives us impetus to enter in. And Krishna is so kind that he makes these relationships available, not just to his Mother Yashoda, but all the residents of Braj. Many of the women of Braj, they also had access to having this parental ras with Krishna. In fact, in the villages, this tends to be. And of course, we know from, it was being described yesterday, how when Krishna expanded himself as one of the, as the boys, the cowherd boys, then all the mothers were able to give their breast milk to Krishna through that expansion. So, this description of this chapter, the killing of Dhenukasura, and when you see how Krishna is walking through the whole forest and performing his pastimes, taking care of the cows and fighting with the demons, everything's there. And but where are we? Where do we fit in? How do we fit into some service to Krishna? That's why we're chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We're begging to somewhere fit into this pastimes of Krishna as a servant. All the relationships were there. They had some cowherd boys are fanning Krishna. Some that maybe weren't so close to Krishna were fanning him. Cowherd boys as friends. Krishna's parents, mothers, as Krishna's parents, and the gopis, and the inanimate objects were also they're also there. There's no inanimate objects actually in the spiritual world. There's no inanimate objects. Even if you come, the great devotees were praying to become grass or rocks in Vrindavan so they could be stepped on, to get the dust of Krishna on their feet. So this is the call of our bhakti path, to become a very insignificant piece of dust at the lotus feet of Krishna. Mataji?
I'm not going to ask a question. I'm just going to make a comment. I was just thinking how instructive this verse is for us as sadhakas, how to raise our children, because it's given there yatha kamam yatha kalam, according to proper time. The mothers were very conscientious of fulfilling all the needs and desires and requirements of Krishna and Balaram, putting them to rest, making sure they were fed properly. But I was thinking, Mother Yashoda and Rohini, they're always absorbed, because Krishna is always that, like in Vrindavan, he doesn't grow up and, go to Sandipani Muni's ashram and all that. But I was thinking as parents, how even though the current of affection and protection is there for the child, how the relationship changes as the child grows older. I was thinking of my own life, how, you take care of all your son's needs and you're affectionate, but then they grow up and you have to sacrifice and let them go away for their spiritual benefit. And even though you want the best for them, it's a big sacrifice. And you want protection, you want to fulfill their needs, but sometimes you have to suppress your own affection in order to exhibit a higher affection, in the sense that you have to let them go and maybe become brahmacharis. And I was thinking how difficult that is, and how fortunate in one sense that Mother Yashoda and Rohini didn't have to go through that. Of course, then Krishna left Vrindavan and they did have the separation. But this verse is so instructive of how we should take care of our children. I just thought there's so much we can learn from every single verse in the Bhagavatam.
There's the famous letter from Prabhupada to Arundhati, where Arundhati was saying how she wanted to give her child away because she was too busy doing pujari service. And Prabhupada told her, actually, for you, child worship is better than deity worship. Because, and then Prabhupada explained, these children are not ordinary, these are Vaishnavas. They're born in a Vaishnava family, therefore they should be taken care of. Of course, naturally, it's not that because they're Vaishnavas they should be having good motherly family. Every child, it's a normal thing. The fact that it's being neglected in today's society is so unfortunate. That people, like some women will introduce themselves. Yeah, well, I'm only a housewife. It's like the hardest job in the world, practically, and because they're embarrassed, because culture has made it now embarrassing to say that you take care of children at home and you take care of the house, so things are topsy-turvy because of the influence of Kali. So, yeah, this is the standard, Prabhupada's mother Rohini, these are, we have these examples, how to love children unconditionally, give affection, give guidance, give correction, so. Because, Mother Yashoda, she took the stick. Wasn't it she just loved Krishna? She took the stick and she was showing the stick, chasing Krishna, tying him up with rope. Or Prabhupada's mother, Prabhupada was so naughty as a child, he wouldn't want to go to school, so she hired this man called Damodar to tie him up and drag him to school. And one time she was trying to bathe Prabhupada, he was a little boy, and he was fighting against it, and she was grabbing him, and he hit his head, and he was bleeding, so all these pastimes are there, But it was everything out of love, So anyway, it's natural to love our children. It's natural to love our friends. It's natural to love our parents. But we're trying to develop this higher love because all these other loves are filled with frustration and inebrities. As much as you want to have that relationship with your child, and grows old. When he's 40 years old, you're not going to treat him like you were when he was 8 or 9. He's going to grow up. It's no longer there. So, we're in the process of learning how to love Krishna. It's always available. It's pure, unadulterated love. Anyone else? Another comment from Malati.
The last part of that letter from Srila Prabhupada to Arundhati said, after he told her that child worship for her child was in essence her deity, he said, but if you cannot take care of him, send him to me and I'll take care of him.
Oh yeah, that was if you can't take care of him, then give him to me and I'll take care of him. So that's, because sometimes there's a saying that Prabhupada was telling one devotee he was encouraging to preach in a foreign country, and he said, you have to have, the heart of a Bengali mother and the courage of an Englishman. So, a lot, Prabhupada, of course, is a transcendental personality. At the same time, Prabhupada was brought up in a very, very loving environment. His parents, his father, and an extended family. And one of the things, there was an interview with his great grandson Sankarshan I was reading the other day, and he was saying how the environment Prabhupada brought up with was very loving, a lot of relatives, and a lot of sharing of prasad. That was the whole atmosphere in Prabhupada's extended family. He says, so therefore Prabhupada was always in that same mood. Whenever any guest came, he would make sure, wasn't it, Malati? Make sure that before someone leaves the door, make sure the guest gets prasadam. And Prabhupada, the way he dealt with devotees, so lovingly, so expertly, of course, he had love for Krishna in his heart, but he also had a tremendous loving environment, So, in the same way, that as we absorb love, that we can give love, basically. So in a society of devotees, we have the same opportunity. This is our family now. This is our extended family. Each devotee, that we absorb love from them, and we have to give that love to others. So we might have had dysfunctional upbringings, maybe our parents weren't there for us. Maybe our parents died. Maybe our mothers were not so affectionate, whatever. But we have now this whole other family. So many mothers, so many brothers, so many uncles that we can get affection from and share that affection. Prabhupada just didn't spread Krishna consciousness because he was giving the philosophy. Prabhupada made Krishna consciousness real to people because he gave love. There was a story of Prabhupada who was Dr. Mishra, impersonalist, right? He was an impersonalist. Prabhupada was kind of staying with him in the beginning days, or he was using his studio to preach just because Prabhupada had no facility for himself. And then he was cooking every day. He would make prasadam and give it to Dr. Mishra. Later on, Dr. Mishra remembers that he was not giving me food; he was giving me love. And that's what actually brought, because he was not feeling. He was ill, but that's what Prabhupada was giving. It was Krishna's love ultimately, because Prabhupada absorbed so much love, from his parents, but at the same time he absorbed so much love from his guru and Krishna. He was able to give that love. So if you can't give what you don't have, and so when we understand that we're lacking, then we should try to fill that lack, begging the mercy of the lovers of Krishna. Yes. Microphone? Oh, you got it.
Yeah. I just was remembering something that Srila Prabhupada told Shamsundar regarding the children. He said up until the age of 5, they're required to be with the mother. So they can live without the father, but without the mother, it is like living death.
Interesting. It's just, just the fact. Thank you for your kind attention. Srimad Bhagavatam Granth Raj Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.